The United States is known for their absolute meticulous efforts and great lengths the intelligence agencies go to get the job done. It will not come as a surprise that a success rate of 100% is impossible, and even the greatest intelligence agencies in the world will eventually fail in some operations. Intelligence operations will either make history or fail miserably, and we will focus on some of the biggest blunders in the history of the espionage efforts of the United States. Let's dive straight into it. The U-2 spy plane incident. During the height of the Cold War in 1960, the U-2 incident unfolded as a gripping and pivotal moment in the ever-intensifying struggle between the United States and the Soviet Union. Francis Gary Powers, a skilled CIA pilot, embarked on a clandestine mission on May 1, 1960, in a U-2 spy plane. His objective was to soar over the vast Soviet territory and capture vital intelligence by photographing the nation's military installations. The U-2, renowned for its ability to operate at extreme altitudes, seemed to be the perfect tool for this perilous undertaking. As Powers cruised high above Soviet soil, his mission took an abrupt and disastrous turn. A Soviet surface-to-air missile locked onto the U-2, sending it hurtling toward the Earth. Powers had no choice but to eject from the stricken aircraft. In the blink of an eye, he found himself parachuting into enemy territory and into the hands of the Soviet authorities. In Washington, the U.S. government initially claimed that the U-2 was on a routine weather research mission and had accidentally strayed into Soviet airspace. However, the Soviet Union soon presented undeniable evidence of the sophisticated espionage equipment found on board, casting a shadow of doubt over these assertions. The U-2 incident quickly transformed into a diplomatic drama, escalating tensions between the two superpowers. Powers faced a high-stakes trial in the Soviet Union, where he was convicted of espionage and sentenced to 10 years in prison. This was around the same time in which the Paris summit was held, hoping to form treaties and loosening the tension between the Soviet and U.S. superpowers. This, of course, did not help. On the first day of the Paris summit, Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev stormed out after delivering a condemnation of U.S. spy activities.
Если вы будете укать против нас и будете опять готовить нападение, мы так укнем, что больше не будешь укать.
Yet, just as the world held its breath, a dramatic turn of events unfolded. In February 1962, the United States and the Soviet Union orchestrated a daring exchange on the Glynaki Bridge in Berlin. Francis Gary Powers was swapped for the Soviet spy Rudolf Abel. This carefully choreographed spy swap marked the end of Powers' captivity and his return to American soil. The U-2 incident forever changed the Cold War. It heightened tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union, acting as a reminder of the high-stakes games of espionage and risk of international diplomacy during this dangerous era. It is a monument to the complexities and effects of the Cold War superpower rivalry. Operation Cyclone. This was a covert program initiated during the Cold War, which had complex and unexpected outcomes. While it achieved its short-term objectives, which included resisting Soviet forces in Afghanistan and ultimately leading to the withdrawal in 1989, it also resulted in a significant failure with far-reaching consequences. One of the primary reasons behind the operation's ultimate failure was the fragmentation of the Afghan resistance groups. Operation Cyclone supported various factions, united by their common goal of resisting Soviet occupation in Afghanistan.
This is the third occasion since World War II that the Soviet Union has moved militarily to assert control over one of its neighbors.
A big portion of the funds went towards supporting the Mujahideen through the Pakistani intelligence services. This was, of course, a proxy war against Russia and the Democratic Republic of Afghanistan. However, once the common enemy, the Soviet Union, was removed, these factions turned on each other, plunging Afghanistan into a protracted and devastating civil war. The failure to hold post-war stability left a power vacuum that extremist groups, including the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, would exploit in the years to come. The legacy of Operation Cyclone is characterized by the long-lasting instability it unleashed in Afghanistan and, by extension, the broader region. The civil war that followed, the Soviet withdrawal, not only resulted in human suffering, but also created an environment where extremist ideologies could take root. It offered a breeding ground for the Taliban to emerge as a powerful force and for al-Qaeda to establish a base of operations. The most significant and lasting effect of Operation Cyclone is its involvement in the growth of extremist groups with global ambitions. The help that was given to the Mujahideen during the operation inadvertently encouraged the creation of al-Qaeda, which is a questionable outcome. The mission was one of the most time-consuming and expensive covert CIA operations ever carried out. Over $20 billion in U.S. funds has been sent to Afghanistan to train and arm Afghan opposition forces. In hindsight, while Operation Cyclone may have appeared successful in achieving its immediate objective, it raises questions about its long-term effects. The operation inadvertently fueled an era of violence, instability, and extremism in the Middle East, which continues to affect global security and geopolitics to this day. Operation Silent Caper. In 1965, America's spies didn't have the kind of surveillance satellites that can pinpoint you from orbit. The CIA had to rely on much rougher methods, like climbing the Himalayan mountains. In theory, it was an ideal place to put sensor devices and spy on China. Its first attempt also ended in complete failure. The Himalayan range, known for its towering peaks, is a place of wonder and mystery. But during the turbulent years of the Cold War, it became the stage for a daring covert operation, one that would significantly impact global geopolitics. Conceived during the height of Cold War tensions, Silent Caper was a clandestine mission that sought to pierce through the cloud of secrecy that surrounded China's nuclear tests and missile launches. The mission was simple yet brave. Establish a presence in the Himalayas and Tibetan Plateau adjacent to China, and gather intelligence on Chinese military and nuclear activities. The operation was focused on the deployment of remote listening devices, often referred to as jumping jeeps or mobile relay stations. They were planned to be strategically placed on and around the colossal Himalayan. The operation sought to gather intelligence related to China's nuclear program and missile activities by monitoring and intercepting communication signals and data. The operations from Operation Silent Caper faced an array of tough challenges. The mission required navigating treacherous mountain terrain, enduring extreme weather conditions, and above all, avoiding detection by vigilant Chinese authorities. The Himalayan mountain quickly became out of the question because of these challenges, and Nanda Devi, a 25,645-foot mountain within Indian territory, was picked instead, with the cooperation of Indian intelligence. However, the expedition was forced to abandon a summit attempt under heavy snowfall and declining oxygen levels. An attempt to retrieve their left-behind equipment in order to remove the evidence turned to disappointment as it was all wiped away in a landslide, together with some valuable plutonium that was part of their generators. In retrospect, the mission is a testament to the relentless pursuit of knowledge and the lengths to which intelligence agencies went to safeguard their nation's interest during the Cold War. It stands as a reminder of the intricate world of espionage and its lasting impact on international relations. Project Chaos. Operation Chaos was created under President Lyndon B. Johnson and was later expanded by President Richard Nixon. It was in 1967 that President Johnson requested that the CIA begin an investigation into the civil unrest that was happening within the country. The overall goal of Operation Chaos was to acquire proof of foreign influence in American dissident movements. CIA operatives would compile a list of American people and groups they felt were associated with anti-war activities and other dissident organizations. This list was converted into a computerized index of over 300,000 names. 7,200 of the 300,000 names had 201 files connected to them. 201 files contain information such as your birthplace, family members, and organizations with which you are involved. It was initiated in response to the political and social turmoil of the 1960s, which included opposition to the Vietnam War and the Civil Rights Movement. The CIA aimed to monitor and collect intelligence on various activists and protest groups perceived as threats to U.S. national security. The program primarily focused on anti-war activists, civil rights groups, left-wing organizations, and other movements that were critical of government policies. It also extended to monitoring individuals and gatherings associated with these movements. Project Chaos employed a range of tactics for intelligence gathering, including infiltrating activist groups, wiretapping, surveillance, and intercepting mail. It aimed to collect information on the political activities, funding sources, and affiliations of these groups and individuals. Due to worries about its legality, potential violations of civil rights, and the blurred border between foreign and domestic intelligence activities, the project became highly controversial. The CIA was accused of overreach and misuse of authority. In an unusual turn of events, the CIA reported to the White House in 1969 that there was very little evidence of communist funding and training of such movements, as well as no evidence of communist direction or control. Over a half dozen assessments indicated that foreign groups were not playing a major part in the numerous protest movements taking place within the country. Project Chaos is widely regarded as the CIA's largest domestic eavesdropping operation ever conducted. Despite the fact that the CIA was clearly in breach of their 1947 constitutional laws, which bans the CIA from spying on its own citizens, they persisted anyway. In the mid-1970s, it came under intense scrutiny, particularly during investigations related to the Watergate scandal. It was criticized and considered a symbol of government overreach. As a result, it was officially terminated in 1974, and rightfully so. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you've learned something new. If you've made it this far, I wanted to let you know that I appreciate the support, and I definitely hope to see you in the next video.